Hey, it's Bill, and you're tuned into Three Questions and a Song, episode number 57, the podcast where the title says it all, except for when it doesn't, like today's episode. So with me tonight is Judy Rodman. Judy's a singer, a songwriter, a vocal coach. I just heard her say that she produced an album. Is there anything you don't do in the music industry?
No, if you've been in the music industry for 5 decades, like I have, you've worn multiple hats and roller skates. So, yeah. And the cool thing is each one influences the other and makes the other one better, actually. So it's not a bad thing, but it's definitely scattered. Yes. Lots of road trip.
So in this podcast, it's really a quick thing. I'm going to ask the question and we'll answer it. I'm not even going to segue. I'm just going to go to the next question until we get to the point where I'm trying to decide what I'm going to ask you. Then we'll have the O's and ums.
Okay.
Right. So the first two are questions that you suggested, so we should be good there. What are some differences between the stage and studio singing?
Well, in the studio, generally, the audience is not there. And if they are there, they're probably the wrong ones in the control room. So there's that. And the other thing is, in the studio, it's like being under the microscope for your audio. Has to be really, really perfect. And yes, you can fix it in the mix, but it sounds a whole lot better if you fix it while you're singing it. And so, the cool thing is you get to do it more than once. The tiring thing can be because you get to do it more than once, and you can get, it's a very artificial kind of place to perform, because really singing is supposed to be communication. So there's several things that are different about studio and stage. And one other big one is if you play an instrument on stage, you don't have it with you normally. So your hands make your ribs kind of come down and blows your breath control out of the water, which blows your vocal control out of the water, unless you know what to do about it. So those are a few things that are different.
Do you find that a lot of vocalists overthink it when they're in the studio because they're trying to make it perfect?
Well, there is that. That's a big part of what I teach, which is the performance part, meaning communication. You know what most people sing to in the studio? The pop filter, right? Good luck making it feel something, and definitely good luck getting a response out of it, because you're really supposed to be singing past the hole in the fence, which is what the pop filter is. Sing past the hole in the fence to the heart the lyric is to, not to the producer, because it probably has nothing to do with him. So that's the thing. You sing. If you do that and you really focus on the one heart, then you can stop being scattered and you can stop overthinking, which is, being scattered is what causes you to overthink. And then your one goal is to get the response you want out of the heart you're talking to. And that's going to create magic.
What are some things that vocalists can do to avoid vocal fatigue and strain? That one, being a metal and rock person, I see that happen a lot. So when I saw that question, I'm definitely asking that one.
Yes, and I work with some metal and rock people too. And what I teach is for you to pull the strong stuff, the strong screams and, the big high notes and all that. And your throat will never feel it. And then it becomes actually a magic trick. Because what you've done is you've opened your voice to resonation, and that's how you get those big sounds. Like, I'm going to turn backwards and do one. Yeah. And so I would have blown your speakers if I went this way, but I didn't feel it with my vocal cords or my throat. Didn't feel anything because I'm pulling that sound. It's Jamie Vandera is another rock coach that I really love. He calls it the inhalation sensation. But what you definitely don't want to do is regurgitate those sounds forward, because then your career is going to be short, or you're going to get a lot more, gravel and grunge than you really want.
It sounds like me after I've been to a concert. Exactly. I'm screaming out in the crowd.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. No, drill sergeants don't make good singers. So.
All right. So I warned you that I was going to ask you some off the wall questions too.
Yeah, I love it already.
So if you were booking a band to play a barbecue at your house, what band would you pick and why?
Oh my gosh. A band to do the barbecue. Ooh, I would book my friend Mark Elliott, who is an Americana singer / mountain man / psychologist / author. And because he is very interesting and funny and extremely good as a vocalist and a guitarist, and his band is kind of like my cup of tea. It's like really off the wall, but really beautiful. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give a little caveat on this next question. It's the way I ask it. It's more of a metaphor, so
Okay.
don't take it literally, because a lot of people do. So recently, I watched a documentary on Robert Johnson, the blues guitarist. That, you know, the story is that he met the devil at a crossroads and sold his soul to be able to play the guitar. So if you were standing at that crossroads waiting for the devil, what would you sell your soul for? In other words, what's the one thing in music that you really, really want?
Heart. I mean, heart. If it doesn't have any heart in it, it's not worth doing. It's just not worth doing. I don't care how good the licks are. So heart / magic.
All right, you ready for some more off the wall ones?
Yeah. Love it.
All right. If you were one of a handful of people that survive an apocalyptic event, and only one song from every band survives, and those songs are responsible for helping to repopulate the earth, which one of your songs should be in that group?
Ooh, oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Let's see. One of my songs. One Way Ticket kind of sounds a little fatal. That's one that I co-wrote. It's a little fatal, so I'm not sure that would work. Probably Until I Met You. Okay, it's my #1 country song, and it's about everything was nothing until I met you. So there you go.
I like it. If you could, we're going to go Forrest Gump on you for a moment. You're sitting on a bench.
Great.
And next to you sits down your musical idol. Who is that? Who's going to be sitting next to you? And what are you going to talk to them about?
James Taylor. And I'm going to talk to him about the fact that if he would lower his chin just a little bit, he wouldn't get so vocally tired. Okay. I think great doesn't mean they can't be better or even, like healthier.
I have a feeling that that's going to come in a little later when we get to the question from Christian.
Yeah.
If you could, so Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, I've been trying really hard to get on his radar. I want him to come on one of my podcasts, and his band is known for bringing people up on stage to play with them. If you could end up on stage with any artist, who would your Dave Grohl be? Who would you be up on stage with?
It would be Bonnie Raitt. I would be Bonnie Raitt. I want to sing harmony with you, girl. I just want to sing harmony on one of your songs. Talk about heart. Oh yeah.
So before
Tina Turner, that would do too. There's a split there.
Before I really blow my 3 questions out of the water and keep going with more questions because I'm having fun. You brought a song with you, an R&B track called "You Want It Back." Can you tell me a little bit about that track before we listen to it?
My husband is a drummer / classical percussionist who became a session drummer in Memphis, and my drummer when I was on the road. And he's just brilliant. But anyway, he, after 20 years of giving it, 25 years of giving it up, he and I decided to do another project, and we'd never written together. So what would happen is he would be over in the corner over there when the drum set was set up, and he would be just like playing stuff like riffs and playing grooves and changing them up and stuff like that. And then I would like think about what it said. And so he was doing this weird little thing that was kind of like, I can't remember the name of the song. And I just said, you know, you want it back. And so then I tried to figure out what the song said from there, and there it was. And it became one of the most fun songs I've ever written or ever done, because it had that R&B thing to it. And it also has a sax solo to die for by Mr. Sam Levine, who is, you know, John, my friend, and just an iconic horn player and, you know, all kinds of thing players in Nashville. So we have Sam on it, and then I got to, you know, the bridge is like this thing that takes off, and it's just wonderful. So I hope you enjoy it.
All right, so we're gonna take a moment and listen to Judy Rodman's song, "You Want It Back," and we will be right back. And if anyone's listening to this live right now, you're not going to actually get to hear the song. You have to wait until the 15th. All right, so we're going to come back in. I'm going to say, you know, that was the song, and then we'll go from there. Okay, that was "You Want It Back" by Judy Rodman, who is with me right now, judyrodman.com. You can see it in the video right below her in the video. I have 100% blown the 3 questions thing out of the water for this episode, but it's kind of a special episode, so we're going to deal with it. So I mentioned earlier, we're going to jump to me for a moment, that, you know, I do 2 podcasts. I have a radio station as of this weekend, and my wife doesn't know this yet. I have a 1 time per month streaming radio show that's going to be in the United Kingdom.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And I teach all day. So
oh, wow.
What should I be paying attention to voice-wise?
If you will do your little chords a favor and treat them like the divos or, you know, that they are, and not make them work very hard, they'll work all day for you, every day. And what you have to do about it is you have to pull the scaffolding up, which is what I mean is your posture. And you're going to get tired of doing that. Do it anyway, or your chords will complain. But so if you get tall as you're sitting behind your podcast mic, make sure the mic is kind of closer to you. I've got this cockpit desk, so I move my knees in so that your head is parked over your tailbone instead of your pubic bone. If you're standing, over your heels instead of the balls of your feet. And then what you're going to find is 2 things. You're going to find an open throat, and you're going to find an open rib cage. The open rib cage controls breath because of what it lets the diaphragm do. The open throat provides your sound. All you do is just articulate sound into meaning, okay? The sound is created by your woofers and tweeters up in your head, and the spaces there being open. Well, if you're collapsed, you can hear my voice change right now. Mm-hmm. You know, it's thinner, and I'm, you know, another thing that you need to do is use your face, because if you don't use your eyes, and it's easy to do when you're just doing stuff on the phone or radio, like, instead of video, we can see each other. So you're going to use your eyes more. But if you don't use your eyes, your throat's not going to be open, because it opens up, down, and back. Okay. And if you do those things for your voice, these things will work all day for you and never complain, because they like to be vibrated.
All right. So this is kind of probably going to get some of the same answer. So we do some musical stuff with, like, I'm in a K to 8 building, and every year I try to explain to the children how to use the microphone, and I'm trying to tell them to, you know, that the voice should be coming out of their diaphragm, but they're not getting it. How can I explain that better?
Don't use the D word. Don't use the D word. Most people don't even know where the diaphragm is. If they do, they think they're supposed to speak from there, and they're not, or sing from there. You're not. Sing from your butt. Now you can't tell the child that. Just say, sing from your feet. Sing from your legs. Sing from your legs. And then and using a microphone, the important thing is how they hold it. Not like an ice cream cone, and not like that, and not like that. Like that, like 45 degrees. You have them all hold it just like that. And then you'll notice that they kind of pull their head back and their posture gets different. They're not singing at it, but they're speaking into it from all of their big speakers up in here. Tell them their speakers are up in there. And then they just talk through the mic like that. And if they're holding it like this, they tend to use better technique without even knowing what they're doing. Yeah. What's hard is when we're not holding it, like if we're playing an instrument like I talked about before, or we're speaking into a podcast mic that's in front of us and we're not holding it. We tend to sort of do that. But if you put your hands on your thighs or your desk and you help yourself up, it's the same thing as that mic. Or, if you've got your instrument, you want to use it like that and not like that. Don't cradle your instrument. Wear it. Or if it's a keyboard, play it like that instead of like that. So hope that helps.
I have a bad habit of cupping my microphone, which is why it's on the stand.
Yeah, no, that's a no-no. Makes a lot of noise and actually keeps your signal from getting through. Yeah. Yeah. But if it is on a stand, really you can use your hands somewhere, but you do have to use hands and arms in a way that actually helps your voice, no matter what you're doing, talking, speaking, whatever genre you're in. Use your hands and arms. Put your elbows behind you a little bit instead of in front of you, and you'll notice your rib cage opens. That's what gives your voice control, because then your diaphragm's not like a nice little stretched trampoline, and then just use your seat of authority to power it.
So usually what I do is with the students is I will walk across the auditorium and tell them that they need to talk as if there isn't a microphone in their hand so that I can hear them, trying to get them to project.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
If they, you might also, and these are two other things that really enhance sound and makes the sound bigger. And that is, have them use their face. Tell them you want to talk like somebody's got to read your lips. Like there's a blind and deaf person, not blind, they couldn't read their lips, a deaf person. Well, if you can, tell them this person's hard of hearing, pretend this person's hard of hearing, and you don't want to yell at them. You want to wake your face up, and they'll understand that. If they use their eyes and they say the words like they, somebody could read the words in their face, they're going to be louder, and you're not even going to have to do much to get that volume out of them.
Cool. Being a songwriter, what is a song that you didn't write that you wish you had written?
Oh, I Can't Make You Love Me If You Don't. Mike Reed, I think, was one of the writers on that. That's an incredible song, and I love singing it. And that's one I wish I'd written. There's so much depth to it. It's the strongest love song in the world because it has to do with unilateral love that doesn't even have to be loved back. It's just so strong and so completely healthy that it's like, let me give this. I'm so sorry that you're going to miss this. Yeah. I wish I'd written that one. I couldn't have thought about it.
I think I'm going to go 2 more questions, or it's going to be 21 questions in a song.
Okay.
And that doesn't include the one where you get to tell us where we can find you.
Okay. I know the answer to that one.
So the next question is, you also have a podcast called All Things Vocal Podcast. Here's your chance to tell my listeners about your podcast, especially the singers and vocalists that are hanging out that want to learn some more.
It is for, as I always tag it, the podcast for singers, speakers, vocal coaches, and studio producers. It's really, who I work with is the professional voice or someone who wants to be at the professional voice level, and that is speakers and singers. And so I love it. I've got 50 years of work in the field, and I've got over 20 years now of work with the singers and speakers. And I specialize in strain and maximizing the ability while, conquering strain. So the podcast, All Things Vocal, it's free, actionable information for people. If you can't afford me, you can train free that way. And if you can learn from the podcast that you can trust me. So that's what that is.
What is one thing that people who have followed your career that they don't know about you that might surprise them?
I love growing things. And one thing I have grown that they probably wouldn't know is bees. I've grown bees. I was a former beekeeper until the boxes just got too heavy and I got too many students. The best honey in the world, though. I love growing things, yeah.
I personally try to avoid bees because they and I do not get along.
Bad if you're allergic to them. You don't make a good beekeeper.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to do the Benadryl when they decide they don't like me.
Yeah. And they can get an attitude for sure.
All right. So two things from you that I still need. One is, besides judyrodman.com, where can the listeners find you online?
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest. It's all really, the only two things you need to know is Judy Rodman and then All Things Vocal, pretty much.
Okay. And then the last thing is, I kind of sprung a last minute homework assignment on you to come up with a question for our next guest, which is Davey Williamson. What did you come up with?
Well, I hear his rock voice, and I hear, I hope he's not offended by this, but I hear some pure rock in his style. And I'm not an expert in that, in calling all the subgenres of rock out, but I want to know what kind of rock he would call himself. My student's name is Salem Jones with One Soul Thrust, and she calls herself pure rock. It's pure rock, but it's just like, it seems to be almost an ancient thing. Like, you recognize rock when you hear it. And I love it when it's organic and it's got guts, and when it's sung well, it's performed well. So I want to know what category of rock he would put himself in.
That's the running joke on my other podcast, Pennsylvania Rock Show, is that there are so many metal genres and subgenres that you really never know what to consider a band. And recently we did a test run for that radio show in the UK. And I found myself messaging bands and going, okay, what genre do you want me to say the song is?
Okay, so you have the same question.
Yep.
I like it. I like it where you get to the point where, well, it's Judy Rodman music. So there, put it where you want it.
Hey, Judy, I do want to thank you for joining me on episode 57.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a blast.
Of 21 questions in a song. I mean, 3 questions.
1 + 1 is 21, I think, with another one.
That's all. So again, we just kind of touched the surface of what Judy does. You can find out more by going to judyrodman.com or looking up our podcast, All Things Vocal Podcast. And make sure you check us out on the 1st and 15th of the month. And I mentioned the Pennsylvania Rock Show. That is every Friday. It gets posted at 6 a.m. It's on various streaming radio stations and an FM station in St. Louis. So make sure you check us out there. You can go to buildaScene.com to find that. You'll also be able to find this episode at buildaScene.com. Once again, check out Judy at judyrodman.com, and I will catch you next time.
Thank you.